a little light.
We're live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Munson Ski, with my co-host, Kevin Hooks. We are the seat at the table, and we are hanging out at the seat at the table with the phenomenal Gabby Jones, G Major Inc. visionary, who plans to held and hold the dreams of today's music industry, sponsorship, you name it, in her hands. Welcome to a seat at the table, Gabby. What's happening, Kevin?
How are you?
No, I'm excited about life.
Me too. It's been a different kind of life that we've been living for the past few months. So still, adjusting to the new norm of what they say, but I don't know how normal it's going to be, but we're going to make it normal, right?
No, I'm with it. All right, well, welcome to a seat at the table.
Thank you for having me.
Now, today we want to talk about the needs, what's necessary, where our seat needs to be in the industries that you enact, how we can accept the fact that we need to have a new lens put on our eyes for our expectations of what our community deserves from all the companies that we interact with. But why don't you introduce yourself and give us a minute to understand the veracity of such an accomplished person like yourself?
Oh my goodness. I hope I can live up to these big words you given tonight.
Don't stop.
Let me see. Well, my name is Gabrielle Jones, but everybody calls me Gabby. I'm a West Coast chick that lives in the South now in Nashville. I am a servant at heart, but you have to have that type of standard when you're working in the music industry. You're serving multiple people and multiple layers of a person's career and a company's expectations. I have been doing this for the past 13 years, but I started in church. My walk is a little different from everyone. I didn't go to school. I didn't go get the degrees. I didn't do all the things that everyone does to give them the steps of being a music exec. God saw fit to use a church girl with a few little talents and a few little people that I met along the way to become, who I am today. So very grateful, but I am currently the artist relations content marketing manager for Sony RCA Inspiration, which is our inspirational side of RCA. It sounds a lot in that title, but I deal with mostly award shows and packaging and photos and images and things that you see out there on the digital space for our artists, which now we know that the digital space is the actual home base for a lot of our work currently right now. But that's what I do. I make sure that the artist is heard in their vision, and then on the other side we execute the vision. So I'm the hub, if you can say, what they call it. They call me Olivia Pope. I try to solve everything, but not everything, but some of the things.
Go ahead, Kev.
I was gonna say you're the chief solutionist.
Yeah. That's a big hat to have on. But yeah, solutions is something that I have to work at every day. I have some as soon as I get off the phone with y'all to work out. But yeah.
I love it. Can you talk a little bit about how today's environment is challenging you in the work that you're doing?
I would say in the space that I'm in, a lot of the normal things that I'm used to doing on a yearly annual basis, meaning award shows and performances, Essence Music Fest, some of the largest platforms that we have for gospel, and some of our urban inspirational or urban mainstream that we have, because those two worlds communicate to each other. So sometimes, the music is a universal language. So sometimes that message can come throughout in either side. But it's actually challenged our creative side even more in this time of pandemic, COVID, home, social distancing. We've had to actually, it's not a bad thing, because sometimes when you do something so redundant and the same, it sort of starts looking cookie cutter. So the shows and the performances and the visuals, all of those things, now we actually are taking a step back and seeing how we can keep the engagement and the attention of the audience, because everyone is out in the social world now. So you have to, really work at being something different right now.
But are there other things that are exciting you now that we recognize the challenges? Is there anything about this pandemic that's allowing you guys creatively to get excited about what the future is looking like?
Creatively, yes, we've actually, homed in on the actual music and the content, the writer of the music, and actually telling the story, and really, taking it from a perspective of, with limited things, how you can go out and have all the nice bells and whistles, but when you have one camera, 2-3 people, at Sony, we have, I've had 5 video shoots in the past 5 weeks, 3 photo shoots. And we've had to have no more than 12 people. We've had to really social distance. So it's really, the communication has really actually improved in a lot of areas, because you actually have to talk and actually have to be a team player, opposed to just being, sometimes in silence. So to me, it's a little more work. I feel like I worked a little bit more being at home than I would probably in the office or in the field. But it's different, but it's good. It's good. Change is good sometimes. Different circumstances. Yeah.
Are you having any impact or noticing any forced changes as a result of the protests and the things that are going up in the streets? Because music, it started in the streets, stays in the streets. So what's the relationship between what you're doing in the streets?
I would say that music has actually been a saving place for a lot of us. I think the verses that we see out, that are bringing artists that we either grew up on or had some sort of impact, or we remember our childhood, or when we heard that song, and just seeing those two collaborate, that's brought a lot of people online and together. Music is for the soul. I know I'm not the only person, but I'm sure you have a song that either tells the great part of your life or the most challenging, I won't say worse, I would say challenging part, but it is, it's something that we need. So I can see that music has really been a great thing. I mean, I literally just saw the video of the young guy that, the anthem about, when the police put his knee on his neck, and and that young brother did that video and made that beat, and then now he's signed, and now he's doing videos, and now he's singing. So creators are being birthed out of this, along with entrepreneurs and other people that are doing home-based business and things of that nature. But a lot of that is going to help our economy. It's going to help us as a people. I think we've actually see an even playing field. And so now that, some of those aspirations and dreams, and some of those that have kind of just been stagnated, some people have been able to rebirth some things. So I see a lot of newness coming. I just want to see how it's going to sustain or be sustainable, that is.
The Ray Daniels came out and we had an anonymous letter, and ultimately wrote let everybody know that he wasn't anonymous anymore as it related to diversity in the music business, and kind of spoke to that, the opportunities, the doors that they want open now. Do you see a movement going on in the industry that is going to continue to push forward the opportunities and the Black executives in that space?
I do see it. I won't piggyback off of the name of your show or your segment, but I do believe
please do.
That there are more available seats that are going to be at the tables of, in these boardrooms. A lot of executives will now get an even playing field. Like I said, unfortunately, things had to change, our world, and things had to drastically impact us in so many words, to not just all of our lives matter, Black lives matter. It's everyone matters when it comes to the United States. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to music, when it comes to, the color should not matter, but it should be more than just saying, oh, I have to have a third or a fourth of the minority, whatever that pie is, to say, oh, that they're doing equal opportunity when it comes to employment or something like that. So I do think it's going to be a challenge. It's something that's going to have to be heard at this point. Yeah.
Well, here I'm all about the KPIs. If we don't have key performance indicators, I am a pie splitting guy. I don't want a red line. I cringe at the idea that Warner Music would go public and not have any Blacks on their board. I cringe at that idea. I cringe when you think about the lack of Black executives at the top and having to make, because those are economic decisions.
Yes.
So for me, that's the a seat at the table. Yeah, the numbers are real important. Because see, if I sit back and I don't see you, I've been invited in the room, and when I don't see a brother or sister there, I know, well, one, you're not dreaming for me.
Correct.
I am not in your dream. You don't have to play me. I'm not in your economic success. I'm not part of the numbers. And it's all about giving out the budget. If a guy's able to give out a budget, a woman's able to give out a budget and never have to think about me or my community or limit your budget. And you can't tell a sister, this is my vision. And we need the awards, but I think I want to create my own social awards, and I need $1 million investment. Here's the ROI in 2 years, but let's go. It's just like we've seen Black music budgets shrink, then get big. We've seen the gospel shrink and then get big. And then we've seen, awards that really by now should be on a major television station, having 3 awards. We don't have 3 real national gospel awards, and yet we are gospel. We weren't welcome to country music. It took an endorsement. So when we say that, a seat at the table, everything is under evaluation. Right. There is nothing that is not under evaluation. I was talking to a friend of mine in the DY&I space, and I said, no, everything's under evaluation forever. Because these young people have a whole lot of years to keep asking the question and seeing, is there any movement in this area? So I think we have to look at movement and the movement numbers. Like, the movement is not a movement.
To your point, Warner has been on the market for a head of diversity for more than a year. And it keeps starting and stopping. But even though we want to be much more than that, that's a great jump off point for Warner to have somebody inside who's paying attention to this, and it's their role to pay attention. So it then offers opportunities for people like the great Miss Gabby to be able to go to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and have a champion at the senior level to be able to help get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been afforded to work up under some great executives. Phil Thornton. Phil Thornton is SVP over at RCAI Sony. He also was over at Entertainment One. He's done film, he's done music. I've been with Ron Hill, which is, he's an executive there. We brokered that deal when it came to Sunday Best and a lot of other things he's done. He's been with Kirk Franklin for years. And so these are guys and these are gentlemen that I've seen that have started, making changes, and really trying to have a presence, in these rooms. And I've just been afforded to be around and see, what we really can do, A, when we come together, but B, when we actually stand for some sort of change. And at Sony, of course, with Capital and everything up under our umbrella, we have Sylvia Rohn, which is a wonderful, Black executive women. It's not a lot of us that's women, but she's also a pioneer, and she has started and paved so many different ways. And so they've worked and got a few initiatives. They did one about the show stopping. I don't know if you guys saw that, and it was on the show, we had to black out everything when it came to the music side. We only took one day, and it wasn't that we were blacking out of everything and not saying what was going on in the world, because at that time there was some voting happening, there was some other things that was happening. We could still push Black initiatives, but it was literally to stop the music industry, and to, so they can see the difference and the impact, and what that made. And Every little bit counts. Nothing is too small, in my opinion, and I think that's a lot of the hang up sometimes. It's like, we don't think that we have this person or that person of a stature to make it, become big, then we really shouldn't do it. No, everything counts. And once it builds, it will go to where it's supposed to. So no stone left unturned. We're still working.
And we feel the same way. I heard you mention Kirk Franklin. Can you talk about Kirk and other artists you represented, but talk about it from the perspective of, if you had a seat at the table, how much more service you could have provided to them, how much more successful you feel like you could have been, how much more creative you could have been?
Well, Kirk is on the label, so he's on RCA Sony, and he's one of course, one of the most prevalent. I mean, when you think of gospel, you think of Kirk Franklin. He has had a consistency of years, and he has been able to evolve and change and still be him. In the music industry, to keep your authenticity is something that is everybody can't do. So over the years, you'll change with the climate, or what's in and what's out. And so he stayed a consistent, and he has been one of the forefathers, to be honest with you, because every time he moves somewhere, he takes somebody with him. I think that's the part that I love about Kirk. It's not about just, it's just him. I've seen him in different venues and different avenues where he's pulled various artists. Doesn't matter if they're on his label or off his label. He is the one that will turn around and say, like the no child left behind type thing. He's literally like, one brother help another brother or sister. And I see that. I feel like gospel music and where we are, yes, it's still not the way we want it to be in regards to charting, in regards to budgets. It is a genre that is not, compared
even
to
in getting off the gospel chart and really doing, adult Christian music and being on their chart, and making sure that we don't get stuck in the stomping concept, and be able to be on their radio stations. And when we think about the opportunity, it is bringing us so that we can chart on both charts. It's kind of like not being able to be on the pop Christian chart. So we got to make a decision. The sound has to either be Black Christian or the opposite. So I think the movement, at least for most people that I know that are in gospel, is, there is a area of Christianity and Christian music that we are just not in at all, and are almost not welcome to. So it's just a new movement. It's just like Kurt charts on Black gospel, but Kurt could chart on the other side of Christian music.
Well, and we've made pretty good strides with a lot of our artists. Like, we have a Travis Green. Travis Green can live in both worlds. Corinne Hartthorne, prime example. She was from The Voice. She's one of our contemporary gospel artists. She's had success on both the Christian side and, of course, traditional gospel side. I believe it's where you need, the music has to embody where the people are, and I think a lot of times in gospel, it's boxed. So it's not really open to, every parts of a believer. You understand? So it's taken a lot of education and a lot of, examples to show that you can, be cool and still love God. You can still, praise and worship and have that side to you of a worship. And then you can also have that go back to stomping, like you just said. So both of them can really have all of our artists on there, and because they do both, to be honest.
I agree. I'm just saying we're really not making a lot of. We've made some, and Travis was on our show, maybe our morning show, not long ago. So he's a great young man,
Yeah,
great young visionary.
But
absolutely.
Gabby, one of the things I really want to hone in on, because the people that are watching this, I want them to really be able to pull some nuggets and jewels from the opportunity to be in your space. One of the things I want them to understand from you is there's an excitement that still exists in this opportunity that we call music, adult contemporary gospel, that you are able to drive home to them and drive that message home to them. So when we talk about the artists that you're representing and the work you're doing, I want to hear you let them know there's great opportunity, regardless of what's happening. Get your head up, and if you want to be in this space, here are some ways to do it. Because here's why I'm excited.
I'm always excited about music because music is my life, is what I live for. If it's your purpose and passion, see, a lot of people get into a space when that's not who they are, or it's not, what a artist, the space that you want to be in.
Can you sign me today, Gabby? Can you sign me today? I'm ready. I'm ready. I need you to sign me today.
You want me to sign you today?
I need you to sign me today, Gabby. I need a record deal today.
You need a record deal today.
I need a record deal today. I need to be able to have Rolling Out, have a imprint, a distribution, sign. We're ready to go.
Okay, tell me what that record sounds like. Who are you? That's going to be the first question I ask. Tell me who you are before I give you this record deal.
We're kind of like loud gospel for a brand called Rolling Out that it has a foothold already in the community, and just want to have the sound. We've got tons of music, but maybe we should listen to a little bit of it. And we'll cue it and show you better than I can tell you. Maybe we'll do that.
Okay. Oh, this is exciting right here. Breaking artist, breaking label, imprint. Is this what's happening?
Welcome home. You welcome me home. I can't hear it yet. You can go back and get it, but yeah, we're gonna break it for you.
Okay.
If I gotta play it myself, I'm gonna have it for you all day. Rolling Out Records.
Rolling Out Records.
Yeah, rolling.
And what is your mantra? What's your stamp? What if I hear Rolling Out Records? What will make me buy your product, your record? What will make me invest in you?
You'll know that it speaks to
you. Don't you see how pretty he is, Gabby?
Rolling Out Music presents Trust in Him. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, Jesus!
Trust in Him and let Him know what's wrong. Take His hand and keep holding on. Trust in Him, just like the Bible says. Be of service and you won't regret. 'Cause He got power that you'll never see, and He got power that you can't conceive, and He's got love for every one of us. All you really got to do is you just gotta trust. Give it up to Him. Give it up right now. Give it up to Him. Give it up right now.
Welcome.
Who's the artist?
What's happening, Gabby? What's up, Gabby?
You know, you caught me way off guard. That's all right. I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm done with you, Gabby. I'm done.
You
Come
don't.
on, Gabby.
I'm done with you, Gabby. I'm done. Oh, that's fantastic. She like, wait, I did not see this coming.
I did not
Come
see
on,
that
Gabby.
coming, but you know,
Trust in him.
hey, you got to stay ready. So you know, I get it.
Trust in him. Come on, Gabby.
Yes,
We need you to sign us today.
Yeah, we're gonna trust in him. We're gonna trust in him. You are absolutely right. We're gonna trust in him to lead another way. We're gonna trust in him, though. I trust.
We need
trust
you to
him.
sign today, Gabby. We need Gabby to sign us up.
Well, right now during this pandemic, we're not actually signing any new artists or taking on any new deals right now. But it's soon. No, I will never give that textbook. That's such a textbook line. All right. Well, you know, have your people call my people, and then we figure it out, right?
Oh,
That's the
geez.
Diplomacy.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get her to sign me right now. Sing my song for her.
Gabby, is this the first time you've been pitched since COVID? That's what I want to know. Like, I want to see if people coming up with you and taking their mask off. Come on, I know you got some good stories to tell. Tell me one of them. Share with the audience. Let us know.
We have social distance. Okay. No one is taking off their masks and just went, you know. No, I haven't been outside as much. I just started back being outside, but the emails still work. Yes, emails still work.
All right, we need to be signed, Gabby, because we need to know what's happening and move this project forward.
Okay.
We can have
you are with it. I love it. I love the persistence. I love the drive.
You know, we got to make it work. So what's happening with G major? I want to know.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, G major is just G major is a brand too. It's a brand that, you know, it really falls up under like my empowerment women that I have. It's just this. It's a mantra who I am, but it is. I live in the middle of multiple worlds in regards to like booking and artists and things of that nature. And so what I learned when I very first started, that there's the education with an artist, a promoter, that lane as far as how to maximize that partnership has never really been there. You know, a lot of promoters are just people that have, or they're investors, or they, you know, could put on a show, you know, and acquire artists. But they don't understand it's a partnership, and they can get more out of each other if they understand that middle lane, you know, talking about doing radio, talking about advertisement, you know, just all these things that can really work to give the actual consumer a great experience. Sometimes you get an artist that they didn't get their rider right, or they didn't get a sound check, you know, and then they come on stage and it's just not, you know, what the consumer bought their ticket for, because so many things happen behind the scenes. So I'm a behind the scenes person. I love to make everything work. The promoter gets what he wants, the artists get what they want, and then ultimately the consumer does. So I try to work, I'm a bridge in between a few promoters and artists that help them get to a medium to help give, at the end of the day, the music a chance to really get out there. So just a few things behind the scenes that I just do to make it all.
I got it. I'm gonna call Travis tonight and ask him about you, so we can talk about that.
Travis Green, yes.
I know a few people in that business. And
well, you know, call them up.
Obviously, my pastor, Charles Jenkins, is. So
ask Charles Jenkins about me.
I'm not asking him a thing. I'm just telling him I told Gabby to sign me.
Oh,
you know he's getting ready to sing on this record, right?
Well, you know, Pastor Jenkins is a good friend of mine.
No,
So you should have
right.
started off with him. See,
No, Gabby.
that's
No,
what
I'm not gonna play my aces. See, we not at ace time. We not at show your hand. See, we ain't got enough on the table. See, I already got a couple aces showing. So ain't before in the day. I do this for a living. See, I do this for a living.
You guys, I love it. I love it.
It's. I'm trying to tell you,
Hey, so Gabby, I keep trying to give you an out, so I'm gonna help you one more time. So, I don't know if you're familiar with the verses. The challenge, I don't know, Snoop and DMX just had a verse challenge.
I had so much fun watching that. I had so much fun watching that. It was so good.
Are you guys planning on doing something similar? Like, I see a whole lot of opportunity in that space in your world.
Well, we did Kirk and Fred.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
I don't know that was even
and we had guests on there that came. I think we were probably the only one that had a few guests that popped in. Tamala popped in, Marvin Sapp popped in, Bishop Jakes opened. We did a it was amazing. It was amazing. And then also, I mean, who actually kicked it off was Hez and John P. Key. That was the very first one that we did along with Swiss and Timberland. We're looking to do some more. I think we've done a great job, RCAI, Sony, really making sure we had some sort of presence. If you paid attention, we did Kirk did some things on Soul Train. The Soul Train Awards. The Soul Train Awards. Well, the Soul Train Awards, we did a cipher. He did one with Lettucey. And then we had Leandria do one with Keisha Cole and Carl Thomas. We try to mix it up and try to keep, some sort of presence there, because if you pay attention, I mean, R&B has got that, gospel is an underline for a lot of genres. And so we try to make sure we have some sort of presence there. We do.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to being signed.
How do you think Munch's catalog? How do you think Rolling Out's catalog will do in a verse?
I'm looking forward to us being like Wild Gospel.
Wild Gospel, yeah.
Being able
He's so ready.
I am so ready.
You are so ready. Yes.
We've got 2 albums full, ready to go. We have an idea of who we want to sing. This inspirational music, both some gospel and some obviously R&B artists that we think should be praising and worshiping and give people a reason to. So, Gabby, I'm looking forward to seeing this offer letter in my email. I'll have my people be sure to send it to you. I'll be sure that Taru Brooks knows that as the A&R that you have found me. I want you to feel like you're having this moment with Jesus when you go to sleep. He is going to anoint you with a new responsibility. Breaking this brand, rolling out.
Okay. All right.
This wonderful record.
Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Right. Well, we only need a P&D deal. We don't,
You sure about that?
You don't have to press anything up.
Sure about that?
I am.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll take you as your word. I love it.
That's special.
So we're going to call, and I'm sure you can call Pastor Jenkins so we can get our agreements since he's God's favorite. So,
right.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with us here and a seat on the table. And I look forward to the next time we come. We should invite some of your friends, and you can show us some of your work so we can look back and see what it is that culmination, kind of do some reviews, see some insights on those videos that you put together.
Oh man, yeah.
Have some
Pierre Sheard. That was one of our
out of Detroit.
Oh, what'd you say?
Is that Detroit?
That's Detroit.
Huh?
That's Detroit.
Okay.
Is that where you at? Are you in Detroit?
I'm just letting you know I'm trapping.
Okay, because see you, because that's
I just want
when
you to know
set
I'm
up.
trapping. I'm just knowing that I'm trapping with you, just so that we understand.
Yeah, because when you set up, I said, all right, okay,
Right.
that's what we do, Kevin.
Making sure we got it together, you and I. So
That's right.
looking forward to
We
that.
here.
Look, I got you.
Yes.
What up, though? So let us know what's going on when it comes time. And
Absolutely.
we'll see you again. Want you to bring some company so we can hang out and see your creativity and how it's manifesting.
We'll bring some friends along. That'll be fun.
Especially in the pandemic for all those who don't know. We want to thank Gabby for coming on
Thank
hang out,
you.
seat at the table. I look forward to getting my deal soon.
Persistent, I tell you, I love it. That's
Trust
the way
in
you
him,
do it.
Gabby. Trust in him.
Trust
Big
in
record comes out in September. Big record.
Got you covered. On the way.
Covered in the blood. I got you. All right.
Thank you, Gabby.
Amen.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Gabby. See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
All right, you're watching Rolling Out. A seat at the table. We just finished up with Gabby. Kevin, the movement. How do you anticipate measuring these commitments? How does it appear that companies are going to begin to at least be transparent enough that we can measure the sincerity in their placement of D, Y, and I? Obviously, we want to thank the Black Women's Health Imperative for sponsoring. But we're really excited about tonight. What do you think the next movement is for all these corporations in the space of diversity and obviously doing business with Black people?
One thing that I tell you, I'm proud of, just people in general that are staying in the streets, because I saw, we're avoiding what happens typically is it starts to wane, and, the interest in corporations starts to wane, and from my corporation start to wane. But what I've noticed is that's not happening now. And most of it is because of what's happening in the streets. And I can tell you the other thing I'm recognizing is for the first time, our conversations are beginning and ending with economics. It's less about this feels good, it's the right thing to do. We're tying everything, drawing dotted lines from the work in diversity, equity, inclusion to the bottom line of these organizations, which puts us, and you know this better than anybody, Munson, takes us out of that nonprofit feel-good money budget and puts us where the marketing dollars are, which is where the money really matters.
We can say that again. We want to think about what it is, who it is, and what kind of access. We've got a great second half of the seat at the table here with Kevin Hooks and Munson Steed and Rolling Out. We like Up Community Fund. We want to talk about what it is to help minority business owners obtain economic empowerment and face this adversity that they have. So with us today, we know we got David coming online, but the team at Up Community Fund, we want them to have this discussion so that we can even get, maybe if we have time, to reparations. So I'm excited about them coming online right now here at the seat of the table, Rolling Out. David, you around?
Yes, sir.
All right. We're going to have to turn that camera.
Turn. Hold on one second.
There we go.
What's going on, David?
Doing well, man. How about yourself?
Anytime we talk about money, I'm in good shape, brother.
Absolutely.
And then when we can talk the truth and share with our community how they are receipt shareholders, more of us should be buying shares at this moment, and at least own $100 worth of stock in some company that you spend money with, just as a principle, so that you're the owner of what you consume. Why don't you share with us, David, the Up Community Fund? You and your partner can take turns sharing with us just for a few minutes the mission and the value proposition One can take the mission and the other can take the value proposition with myself and Kevin on Up Community Fund, because we like to talk about funds. We did not say fund, people. This is fund with a D, just so everybody knows it's with a D.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
You're good.
Okay, great. Yeah, so again, the Up Community Fund, we've been in existence for 2 years now and have been in development for a number of years prior to that. We really got together around the time of the social unrest pivoting point with respect to Ferguson. And the question that was asked as we sat around the table was, how can we start to utilize capital as a way to address from a social justice standpoint, right? How can we utilize capital to address social issues? And so one of the things that we started to look at was this theme of access to capital. I mean, I'm sure your listeners know that this is not a new concept. This is not a new problem that's occurred over the last couple of days, weeks, or months. It's been prevalent and systematic for years. And so what we wanted to do was that if you think about the arena of fundraising, one of the things that we know as African Americans and people of color is that it's extremely challenging and extremely difficult to do. And it took us years to get to a first close, but we did. And really what our whole thesis was we wanted to be able to provide flexible capital to entrepreneurs of color in the Southeast, we're based in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're Southeast. We define that as Baltimore to Florida to Texas. If you draw a triangle, that's the geography, as well as being able to provide advisory services or technical assistance. Because one of the things we know is Black-owned business owners or minority-owned businesses is that capital is usually what the entrepreneur says that they want, but it's the expertise and the experience to go side by side with the capital is what they ultimately need. So that's really what, at the end of the day, we've created through the Up Community Fund.
So David, real quick, I'm going to jump in because I appreciate what you're saying. For the purpose of the question, I used to run an entrepreneurship center, one of the largest in the country, for the Las Vegas Urban League. And one of the challenges that we faced in trying to educate the consumers, and I'm sure you faced, and I'd like to talk a little bit about, is when our small minority-owned businesses would come to us for funding, it was incumbent upon us to not only be able to provide them a pathway to the funding, but also be able to educate them on the best ways to utilize those funds for long-term growth rather than short-term. Can you talk about some of the experiences that you have in that particular space with that particular challenge?
Sure. You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, that's a very relevant issue that we deal with, one, with respect to our portfolio, as well as companies that we talk to on an ongoing basis. One of the very first things that we have to do as a funder and a partner is we have to establish trust. One of the things that's very interesting that we experience with a number of our kind of entrepreneurs of color, if you will, is the fact that there's a lack of trust with folks that provide capital. Most of our experiences around people that have resources has usually been in a kind of a master-slave relationship. It hasn't really been viewed as a partnership. So what we find is that a lot of those small business owners, the notion of trust is something that takes a while for them to establish with a funding partner or even a consultant. As you mentioned, people have to feel comfortable enough to tell you what's really going on. Everybody will kind of tell you what they want you to know, but tell me what's really going on with the business. Tell me about the HR problems that you're really having. Tell me about the cash flow problems that you're really having. The fact that, you're having challenges with the bookkeeper, you're having challenges getting the numbers, you may not even understand what the numbers mean, but you understand your business, but you may not necessarily understand the financial side. So it's very important from our perspective to start to establish the trust with those entrepreneurs, because we can't get to the point to where we can have real dialogue and real conversation, especially if you run a business. Some things are going to go right and some things are going to go wrong. And you need to make sure that you have enough rapport with that business owner so that they can talk to you about both.
No, I think that's exactly spot on. Can we bring in Taurus? Can we bring in partner? And I got a quick question. as a follow-up is one of the other challenges I noticed was as we were seeking to help small minority-owned businesses, one of the challenges we also faced is most of the businesses ended up being them financing a job and they didn't have employees. And so I strove to get them to go from, being self-employed to being an actual business by having employees. Is there something that you guys do to help them get over that hurdle?
Well, I think that goes back to David's approach. So when we work with a borrower, when somebody comes in, we spend a lot of time understanding what it is they actually need, right? How does their business operate? How do they handle their administrative functions? What are all of the hats that the business owner wears, right? So we begin with a lot of those things. And as we start to tease out what the business owner is actually doing, one of the questions that I really like to ask is, in an ideal state, how would you like to spend your time? Right. That may be sales, it may be marketing, it may be actually executing the job. But as we go through and we ask those questions, and as David said, we build that rapport, is that allows us to actually see what some of those other needs are. So then it might be, it goes from being, how do you get this one job funded, to now, how do we set up a process and how do we set up some staging so that you go from being able to get this one job funding to maybe bringing on the additional people that you need, to purchasing the additional equipment and things like that are going to take you from that job to additional jobs or to larger jobs. Part of that might be, again, it might be personnel, but we're really looking for an all-encompassing solution that's not just writing somebody a check and saying, go do the work.
That makes a lot of sense. I noticed that your average funding is about, close to 600,000. What does success look like long term? So a year from now or 2 years from now, going through this pandemic and so forth, what's success look like for the work at Up Community Fund?
Sure. I mean, currently we've got 16 companies within our portfolio. Our first kind of major milestone is getting to 20, 25 or 30, ideally getting to 50 and ultimately call it 100 businesses. And the value of that is the fact that one of the things that we do within our portfolio is, we're actually having a portfolio party in a couple of weeks. And actually what we do is we introduce all the entrepreneurs to each other. Everybody in the portfolio needs to know what the other company is doing. And what we're trying to do is that old Black Wall Street model of allowing dollars to bounce a couple of times within a closed circle of people. Before that money, kind of leaks out into a broader context. So for us, it's moving towards 50 to 100 companies within the portfolio, and ideally, getting to the point where some percentage of their spend occurs within that portfolio of businesses. They can joint venture on projects together, they can subcontract together, they can purchase from each other. That for us is what success ultimately would look like.
Yeah. And I'll add on to that as well, is that it's the spin, but it's also the mentorship, right? We've seen people that have 20 years worth of experience in a field, and it's connecting them with somebody who has half that or maybe a quarter of that, and being able to say, look, this is what people are telling you. Here's actually what you need to do. Here are the things you should need to focus on, and here's the order in which you need to do it, right? So all of those lessons that go into learning the game, for lack of a better word, it's being able to build some of that within the portfolio and letting them bring each other along as they're also spending with each other, and letting each other know that as they're building their businesses, that they are not alone in doing it, that they essentially have a village that's there to help them be successful.
No, I really love the idea of community. I think that as a value proposition, having the drinks with the entrepreneurs together, the business owners together, building that community, letting people know that they're better together. I love that as a concept.
So I've been listening. I still don't know how I make a deal with you. So for all our or since we're at a seat at the table, what we should be asking any big bank, any VC that should be supporting you all. I mean, part of the seat at the table is to have real economic discussions so that individuals can understand, the deals that you would be looking for, the type of deal, obviously that they should approach, how they should approach your fund. The other is who should be supporting what you're doing that's bigger. Is there a bank, given what we're learning about redlining, just in general? I don't think it's limited to any particular industry. They think of it when they talk about housing, but clearly we've got entrepreneurs like yourself running a fund that is healing our community. Who would $1 billion need to come from to make that change? Or should you see yourself as one of those individuals that Apple or Chase or any of the other banks would park or support your vision? How does that happen? And then for those entrepreneurs that are watching and that live within your footprint, how should they approach, and what kind of deals are you looking for?
Right. So first and foremost, one of the things that we share is that if you think about the range of the company size that we deal with, we're 300,000 to 10 million in terms of from a revenue perspective. Obviously, as you can tell, the startups, the business that's they're trying to secure their first contract. It's a little early stage for us because we know that the amount of work that's required to kind of get them ramped up, and you've got to have a pretty deep bench in order to be able to help folks through that entire process. For us, as a company sits down to talk to us, what usually happens is they're used to going in and talking to a bank, so they'll talk in a certain type of format. A banking relationship a lot of times can be viewed as intimidating. So for us, the first perspective is, one, do you fit within that target range? If you do, then from there, just talk to us about your business. Talk to us about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. We've got some companies in our portfolio, they want to grow like crazy for the next 3 years and sell. You've got some that want to grow a business that's intergenerational. And we try to structure our transactions and say, look, we can be supportive to you and what your vision is, and we can approach it either way. So we try to take a bit of a flexible approach in dealing with the entrepreneur to really meet them where they are. That's a very, very important aspect with regards to how we go about interacting and interfacing with our small businesses. Another thing too is that we really try to take a relaxed approach, a bit of a casual approach. We're not wearing suits and ties in the office. Obviously, this is a pre-COVID statement because we want to make sure that we're approachable. If we're talking to a guy in the construction field, a woman in the construction field, we're out there with our jeans and steel-toe boots if that's what it requires. If you look at the industries that we've got loans into right now, from infrastructure to construction to medical services to transportation and distribution and general categories outside of that. As we look at the types of businesses that really kind of fit our model in a post-COVID environment, we're thinking about those businesses that we would consider to be essential. Where if you think about it from the standpoint of some business, so if you're selling used Rolex watches at an upscale mall, in the suburbans, it's probably not the business that fits for us. But if you are in a business that you've got an essential business, an essential service that you can develop a kind of a investment thesis or an investment strategy to help sustain you as we're going through COVID, then those really are the types of businesses that we feel like we could really, really be helpful to. The type of capital that we do provide is working capital and growth capital. So it's designed to be flexible, but it's designed to really figure out where the gaps are within the business to help the business grow. So we feel like we've designed it in such a way that it's flexible enough. Our process has structure to it, but you should not be uncomfortable or intimidated as an entrepreneur or business owner. You feel like you could actually reach us and approach us. Your other question in terms of who funds you guys? I mean, we're currently a $19 million fund, which in one respect you may say, wow, that's large, but in the big scheme of things, that's very small. But as an entrepreneur, I'm sure what your audience realizes that raising that first dollar is difficult. It is challenging. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But we have been able to create a vehicle to really add value to our community. But the types of investors that we have, we've got some kind of smaller banks, kind of niche banks. We've got some smaller insurance companies. We've got some kind of socially oriented funders. But to your point, a lot of the large financial institutions, they've got a lot of dollars, they've got a lot of resources. The two major segments that they seem to be wanting to allocate capital towards is one is what they call MDIs, or minority-based financial institutions, i.e. Black banks, or CDFIs, which are commonly known as community development financial institutions. We're actually applying to become a CDFI, as they call it, but most of those are nonprofit organizations. Not many of them are for-profits. So we've been fortunate that we've had a group of funders to support and say, look, if you guys are out here trying to, increase the wealth for entrepreneurs of color in disadvantaged communities, we should be working with you to increase the wealth within your organization so that you can have more impact within your marketplace. So that's the ideal kind of funder for us, the one that says, hey, look, we like what you're doing. You've demonstrated concept up to this point. What could you do with a couple $100 million?
Right.
How much impact could you have over and above what you currently have?
So you mentioned CDFI. I served on the board of CDFI here in Las Vegas. And one of the challenges I face, and I'm sure it's one that you recognize, is the makeup of the people who make the decision about where the funds go make all the difference. Have you thought about, if you were able to become a CDFI in the based on the manner you want it to be, how you structure an organization so that it allows you the flexibility to deliver against the mission that's important to you and the people that you serve?
Yeah. Well, I could say this much. I mean, we've been really fortunate to have a initial group of great funding partners that actually, give us, a certain degree of flexibility so that we can make those subjective calls, right? The entrepreneur who comes in and that if he went to talk to a traditional banker, the answer would be immediately no. But if you spend more time with him or her, you start to realize that there's actually a real business here. This individual actually does have content knowledge and actually does have a track record in his or her field. And it allows us, because of the way that we're structured, to really be able to work with that entrepreneur and take a little bit of a chance with that entrepreneur, because we understand from a cultural competency standpoint, the challenges that individual may have had to deal with to get to that point. So we feel like we've built into our model some level of flexibility when we're still, a financially, a financial based program. So obviously, we have to have financial discipline in what we do, but we do have flexibility that we can really work with entrepreneurs and meet them where they are.
The reason I ask is because the president of the National Black Bankers Association and I actually talk. We actually communicate a lot. And part of what I was wanting, it's only 20 of them. So, you can only give but so much. And I think that everybody, have you had an opportunity to actually speak with him yet?
We have not.
Okay. So what I can do is at least coalesce a conversation, because he's an approacher. He's actually an engineer. So you can just understand, as a banker, he gets it automatically. He's honest about where he is. But I know they just got some money from Netflix. I want to say it was like $100 million.
Right.
And I think the opportunity, because there's a seat at the table for both Kevin and I, and just having the discussion, is how do we network more as a community to push and suggest successful models from people who have a compassionate, but yet business competency, like you're sharing, in terms of it's a model, we still have responsibility, but where do we recommend? Because I think lots of people don't know enough about individuals like yourself to bring you forward, which I think is what's important to our community, because many have the money and then many don't want to serve that community or actually mentor and create that new 100 small, and because they want the $1 billion scale up versus start here and end up at 250 million, then finally get $1 billion. And but I do believe as a community we've got to set up some KPIs for even individuals like you to point the conversation toward you.
I agree. And we appreciate having organizations like yourself and platforms like yours. I mean, from our perspective, Taurus will tell you that for us, most of our time is really spent, head down, working day in, day out with our existing portfolio companies, interacting with our funders, interacting within our communities. And but we don't always have an opportunity to take a step back and be able to present and share our story on a platform like yours. So we're glad to be a part of this event today.
No, we appreciate that. But for me, it's just sharing with our community so that we all, at least for me, to be top of mind and I encourage you to write an op-ed to us so that you could outline, part of what you would like a big company to consider.
Sure.
So we can publish that, because I think far too often African-American intellectuals aren't writing the op-eds to the Wall Streets about successful $19 million funds that need to be $190 million, and that would only take one parking of capital that individuals who literally haven't invested at least the top 25.
Right.
I mean, I would think the top 25 should all be required to have a UP Community Fund partnership, and definitely get out of just having the CDFIs, but also looking at other entrepreneurs like yourself who are doing a great job at serving our community with a different model.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just like what kind of deal we want to pull, what other successful options we can think of to offer our community, because I do believe most of our entrepreneurs need a little bit more instruction, even that I'm hearing from you all, in the type of businesses that you would recommend they go into. Like I think our community needs a partner like you to say, we'd rather have 5 McDonald's franchise owners than we do to have guys that want to start a new VCR repair business or something. So I think our community needs a real roadmap with business partners that can give them insight to what kind of deal. The other thing I think is most of us people I talk to that are getting ready to move either 401k money, they got the retirement package, they're looking for an UP Community Fund on how to really bank and tell them, if you would, Taurus, what businesses to go into so that they literally have somebody who can marshal them through what the future looks like. Because just saying essential businesses, our community might think that's a tennis shoe store. So,
And Taurus, when you answer that, touch on the risk mitigant differentials that separate you from other places they might go for funding.
Yeah, well, I think that the question is, we can look at essential businesses, and the question is, I think, what's essential for the community, right? Because we find that there are some businesses that, in the broader scale, are going to remain essential, right? Highway construction is not going to stop, but when you look at things when you look at some of the smaller businesses, is that they serve a strong community need, right? For example, I don't know that people necessarily, in the broad scheme of things, think about rental cars as an essential service, but there are communities where people need them in order to get to work, right? Where transportation is limited, right? So the concept of an essential business, I think, also comes down to where it is that business is operating, right? Which is one of the things that we need to consider. The way that we think about risk mitigation is is in some ways is different, but it starts with our underwriting process, right? Like David said, we spend a lot of time up front getting to know who that borrower is, what makes the borrower tick. In some cases, it's actually, it's spending a day or two on site with them. It might be meeting the spouse, right? But walking through that process and getting to know exactly who they are and how they approach the business, right? Because there are some businesses that where the business owner will forego taking a paycheck in order to make payroll, right? So we want to understand how that business is run, the business owner's mindset. And then we have a very high touch underwriting process. So we're going to ask for a lot of pieces of information through the process, but at the same time, we're also going to, where there are shortages, we'll make recommendations about things that they need to do. They might need a bookkeeper or accountant. They might need to get their taxes redone, things like that, right? So all of that goes into that risk mitigation process, right? So it's taking the time, it's walking through with them, shepherding through that underwriting process. And then once we actually close the loan, there are very frequent check-ins, right? It's depending on the borrower, it can be down to, let's talk about your weekly budget, right? Where's the money going? It's not just, for some companies that may gauge success originally as, is my bank balance higher at the end of the month than it was at the beginning of the month? It's putting that structure in place, right? Getting them to use their partners. It's getting them to set budgets and seeing why it is that those budgets weren't met and what needs to be done, and being able to look at the business, not just, week to week, but, week, month, quarter down the road, and being able to adjust along the way. So it's very active, very, very active management in that case.
Yeah. So for me, probably, and I know both of you have it. I really love what I'm hearing. I'm also recommending that we begin, Taurus, because I heard you, but I think we need a key list of businesses that our community needs to consider, period. Like for us to continue, particularly you all, I mean, even less than I, because I'm not looking at a bunch of deals. I mean, some guys might act like they are. I'm not. I think our community needs individuals like you who can tell people the businesses they should be in. If the longer we keep talking about, you can be anything, be what you like. No, right. Be without fun. Start with be without fun versus be without like. Because as soon as you start liking something, it just may be something that's going out of business. Like at the end of the day, medical supplies, being in a business, transportation. Okay, we really want these areas of transportation to be something as a community we're going to participate in. I think that's really important for us, even when we say we want somebody to give us another, not give us, to invest another $200 million. Because then we can actually go to some of the same people and say, hey, Shaq, we're happy, but if we don't have any Papa John's, we're not happy with you having a Papa John's. Right. At the end of the day, let's be very realistic. We really, as the next generation, want to get out of this favorite pet special celebrity business association and get down to where we're making families and individuals who are really there to make sure they're getting the Papa John's as much as we are the others. And I just say that's part of my ask next time we talk, because I'd like to have another conversation where we can put together conversations where individuals know what businesses to be in and know what businesses to stay away from. I think the sisters have done so well in the sister at Honey Pot. She's done well. The sisters that is done over at Ruby Love, really, they've just done some special stuff. But once again, female hygienes, something you got to have every day, something that somebody has to have every month. And just getting us to be able to share that insight with our community, I think is just very, very, very important.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think what we've seen so far is, at least in our portfolio, there's definitely the construction, the public sector construction. that we see there, health, there's around food safety and security, right? One of our advisors is in a community now where there is a concern about food delivery, right? So, things around that, around some of the, as you mentioned, some of the healthcare equipment, things of that nature, right? Transportation and logistics, right? We know that the mail is not going to stop. It needs to get to where it's going to be. It needs to get to its location, right? And as people are staying home, is that it becomes more and more important, right? So those are some of the areas that that we're seeing as well, that we look at as, if you have a chance to get into it, then it will be, if it's not considered essential now, it will be.
Now, I guess what I'm saying, and it's just a dialogue about fintech. I think, to be quite candid, brothers need brothers like you who are going to create Dropbox businesses. Literally, you're not going to touch your money until you pay your bills. We've got to really figure out how to have enough compassion and trust that they're paying right then. I think many individuals are banked in our community by people who don't have as much insight or compassion as you two, but some need total financial support where, you settle up with them at the end of the month and all deposits have just come in and they're on the payroll. I think those type technological supports will allow our community to grow, from what I hear coming out of this huge fund that you guys have. So I really like what you're talking about. And I look forward to us being able to at least identify, David, if we could, maybe 30 businesses or 50 businesses that should be our community's priority.
Sure. I mean, like you mentioned, as we have our follow-up conversation, I mean, we hadn't really, we have those conversations about those types of businesses, but to actually take a little time and sketch something out that becomes a bit of a roadmap of opportunities for us that actually make sense and could actually generate some revenues and cash flow, as well as meet the need of the community. Absolutely, it makes sense. I mean, if you think about something, we've got a company in our portfolio in South Carolina that they're involved in behavioral health. As you think about mental health, and you just think about the effects that families are having now as it relates to COVID, and people having to be home with their whole family that they're not used to, or having to deal with the anxiety of not being able to live their normal life and now have to live this restrictive life, or having to deal with the dynamics of uncertainty with respect to their cash flows. And are they gonna, is their job still gonna be intact? I mean, those things have an effect on, one's mental state of being. And so, providers that can serve in the mental health space, is an area that we learned a lot about through one of the companies in our portfolio, just how important that work is. And they do great work in South Carolina. That's, kind of a segment that I think would be needed in every Black community and brown community across the country.
No, I'm 100% there. I mean, I think being able to get an opt-in on that is essential. But we're also here to highlight some of the businesses that are in the portfolio that could benefit from some media exposure. So feel free to contact Tigner and, let's highlight some of those businesses and then figure out what we can do to, at least be a broadcast band for you in the kind of deal flow. Because what we do want to do is encourage our community to bank within our community, particularly successful individuals that are looking, or successful businesses that are in that footprint, and definitely from DC down, and definitely for those who are associated. So,
yeah. I mean, look, I'm excited. I'm excited about having platforms like this. Again, I'm excited about the fact that, it's interesting when we kind of first started on this journey of putting the fund together. We talked to a lot of people, and not that many people were really interested in it, or they talked about it, but they weren't necessarily interested in financially participating. But I'm glad to see that we're at a point now in 2020 that this issue is front and center. And again, I think as long as our community doesn't go back to business as usual, but continues to raise these issues and make these issues relevant within our community and say, hey, look, corporate America, larger institutions, et cetera, various institutions, government, public sector, et cetera. Look, we need to continue to work to do better. And, if we don't continue to exert that pressure through platforms like yours, I mean, this wave or this initiative can get kind of brushed to the side, which we definitely don't want to have happen.
Well, that was why I led off with my first question in terms of what corporations, and obviously I now know the answer, but banks, other insurance companies, other CEOs, if Netflix parked $100 million at the 20 black banks, that pretty much says every bank got $5 million.
Right.
So if all of a sudden somebody was able to put $5 million in your fund, and that would just at least increase you another 20%.
Absolutely.
So, I think those are, to me, the conversations, so that when I'm having conversations, I can continue to represent the community now that I know about you all. So, Taurus, I appreciate you taking the time to give me insight, know that you meet with them, but I really want to have a list of, even if it's not 30, 20 businesses that we should consider, and then probably a roadmap for those who have the proper ID. The last thing I'll challenge you on next time is, how do we be a little bit more fintech in even our approach to doing deals, so that we have a platform where we can figure out where we can syndicate our loans as well. So don't have to answer that just now, David.
Okay.
I see more people siphoning off our capital in businesses by using fintech to get companies to sign over their cash flow to their deals as they are in both healthcare and transportation.
Yep.
And it's fintech at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Be happy to have that follow-up conversation.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time. I'll shoot you a note just so we can get an op-ed from you guys, and then I'll make the introduction between the two of you.
Excellent. We appreciate the time, and I enjoy being on your program.
Come on, man. We appreciate you. Congratulations to Up Community Fund on their great success, and we want to thank them for coming on, rolling out the seat at the table. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Yeah.
Kevin, great deal. Great brothers doing great stuff. It's always good for our community to see true entrepreneurs making a difference in our community.
Absolutely. I get really excited to see brothers who recognize that 19 million is a good start. They need to be doing more like $500 million, working toward $1 billion. Because we look at their counterparts, they're dealing with much larger numbers, and the larger the numbers we have in our community, the better. The other thing is, we missed out on the Industrial Revolution opportunity. We missed out on World War II, post-World War II opportunity. We missed out on developing tech from service opportunity, from farming to tech. We can't miss out on the post-pandemic opportunities. And so we got to keep challenging these brothers, because this is our opportunity to build that wealth that we so deserve.
Yeah, the great thing is we can also build our community, so we can meet each other and know more of each other, so that people can think of each other as we actually do these deals. So that's the exciting part, introducing all of us to each other, so that the community and our whole village grows, so that 19 million is huge, and be great to see an infusion before the end of the year of some kind of partnership with another, matching fund for what they already have, given that they have great partners. So really proud of the guys at Up Fund. Well, Kevin, I want to see you tomorrow. We're going to check in again. Absolutely. Great to see you tonight. For all of you who've been watching, you are watching the Seat at the Table here rolling out. It was sponsored tonight by the Black Women's Health Imperative. If you haven't checked it out, it is a week-long conference, and they have some of the most phenomenal speakers. They started out with Angela Davis, and they have more to come. So be sure to go and check out the Black Women's Health Imperative and know that they are the movement. They're celebrating 38 years in their anniversary, and they have made a difference. Started at Spelman College and continue today online at the Black Women's Health Imperative. So check it out. They're celebrating 38 years. We want to thank them for sponsoring Rolling Out a Seat at the Table. Kevin, I'll see you tomorrow night. To all of you, a good night from Rolling Out, Munson Steed and Kevin Hooks. We'll see you. You do not have to be in the streets, but you do have to be in the struggle. Peace. Thanks, T. TJ.
Yes, sir.
I got you.